Lou here. I know I'm a little late to the party, but to time it with this Halloween season, I thought it'd be a great idea to talk about the new Castlevania series, Castlevania Nocturne. Castlevania Nocturne is a sequel to the original Castlevania animated series on Netflix, advertised as their adaptation of Rondo of Blood, but is actually largely telling the story of Castlevania Bloodlines with heavily thrown in characters and story beats from Rondo of Blood. Released on September 28, 2023, this would be another massive hit for the Castlevania franchise, as well as high critical acclaim from most television and film review websites. However, some on social media were critical of this series more than the original 4 seasons on Netflix. Many would criticize the show for featuring heavy cursing by saying it's immature for writing adults cursing, I guess, adding more cultural references because I guess vampires can only exist in Europe, and not making Richter a bootleg Joseph Joestar like in the original game for Rondo of Blood. However, I'll be reviewing it for myself and seeing if these criticisms stand up. Heavy spoilers, by the way. I'm going to be spoiling major plot twists for this season. I'm also not going to be able to show clips due to copyright, so enjoy some art, I guess. Our story starts with Richter Belmont. He's the descendant of Trevor and Sypha, who is leaving Boston with his mother Julia in the 1780s. North America is too dangerous for Richter, implied to be due to the American Revolution causing an increase of vampires. So she sends her son off to France because there's a distant relative of the Belmonts living there. I guess she kind of missed the papers talking about a huge uprising in France too, but who knows? Her and Richter are suddenly attacked by Ulrox, a vampire from Symphony of the Night who has been given a massive makeover, and actually a really interesting character. But I'll get to that later. Ulrox kills Richter's mother, but he spares Richter for unknown reasons. I guess he figures if Richter wants to take revenge as an adult, he can do so. Cut to 9 years later, where Richter is 19 and helping my favorite female Castlevania character, Maria Renard, in starting a revolution in the village. It turns out, in clever fashion, all aristocrats and nobles of France are vampires who quite literally drain the poor of everything. They're attacked by vampires for the millionth time, apparently, where one of them warns Richter about a vampire messiah coming to engulf the world in darkness, and Richter will die or something. Knowing this sounds kinda concerning, they go to the church, where they're immediately dismissed by the priest for suspicious reasons. Later, Richter and Maria meet Annette and Edouard. In this interpretation of the character, Annette has actual agency and a character beyond just wife, which I really like. Now don't get me wrong, I don't mind a character whose personality is just wife. In fact, sometimes I love it. But considering every female non-vampire character in Castlevania games besides Maria and Sypha have that personality, you can imagine it gets pretty stale. In this case, Annette and Edouard are from the Caribbean, where there was an uprising as well to abolish slavery, so hey, that's pretty cool. Annette also has powers in this series based off African mythology, which I'm honestly not familiar with at all, but it basically gives her earthbending powers, so that's pretty cool. Pretty much anything can be turned into a weapon for her, so that's really cool to see her basically turn a fork into a sword. Edouard doesn't have powers, I think. He just sings really nicely and I guess has synesthesia because he can see people's colors or something. They decide to infiltrate the manor of vampires themselves, where it's basically a trauma dump for Richter and Annette. Ulrox has joined the League of Fancy Vampires, and Annette sees her previous slave owner who murdered her mother as one of the vampires. They're immediately ambushed though, where Edouard sadly dies, and is later turned into a night creature with a really cool design, while Annette is left to grieve his loss as well as deal with the massive trauma she clearly struggles with in order to calm down. We do learn though that the vampire messiah is actually Elizabeth Bathory, a character based off actual murderer Elizabeth Bathory, who is from Castlevania Bloodlines rather than Rondo of Blood. I think the main reason to take from the Bloodline story, though, is that the whole Dracula is resurrected and cursed to reincarnate or whatever doesn't really work when he was revived in the final season. although I've heard that the final season might have been retconned. I don't know, but either way, without Dracula there still needs to be a new villain, so a good choice in character if you want to try and fuse the stories of Rondo of Blood and Bloodlines together. We find out through Maria's mom, Tara, who also has a personality beyond thank you for saving me, that Erzsébet is an extremely powerful vampire who descended from Egyptian gods and is basically just as bad as Dracula, if not worse. Her specialty is taking women or young girls who are loved by their families and turning them into vampires as a fuck you. In this case, Tara's sister was turned into a vampire, so she had to kill her. It seems like her goal is to make herself fully powerful so she can plunge the world in darkness, so vampires never have to worry about the sunlight again. The local church is also in on this because the priest guy is against the revolution because religious monuments are being destroyed. An example would be Notre Dame, where angry villagers basically destroyed several large areas of the cathedral, believing certain religious figures depicted around the cathedral were actually French kings. So the main priest guy is helping the vampires for this reason, but it's also because it's Castlevania, and in this series, any religious person is just a little delulu. Also, there's another church guy whose name I don't remember, who has a cute romance going on with Olrox. Okay, so Annette, Richter, Maria, and Tara all storm the prison cell for the night creatures because Edouard is still there, turned into a night creature, so he just kind of sings in his cell all day, which, hey, not bad because his voice is really pretty. As soon as Olrox appears, though, Richter bounces due to trauma and runs for the hills, leaving everyone else behind while he has a breakdown over the memories of losing his mom so brutally like that as a little kid. Eventually, Richter kind of wanders around while Maria learns that her dad is actually the priest guy, which isn't really that shocking, while Annette learns to calm down over her anger from her trauma, while Richter has to learn to move past his demons so he can fight to live, something he learned specifically from his grandfather Juste Belmont, who is a reflection of what Richter could become if he continued to run away and not have the Belmont fire inside of him. Juste making a cameo, by the way, had me super excited. As a particular fan of Juste's character who always wanted him to meet Richter, because Belmont staying alive long enough to see each other is pretty damn rare in this series. This new spark to fight and live and fight for his loved ones reignites Richter and reactivates the magic because seeker magic is attached to the will to fight to live or something. Well, it does sound lame. Let me tell you, it was so fucking badass to see Richter use his fire magic again while the Rondo of Blood theme plays. It was so good. So Richter returns home while everyone regroups on a new plan to try and attack and stop Erzsébet's plan, as well as destroying the contraption making night creatures. The idea is for Annette to open a portal to hell to throw the machine in, which sounds funny as fuck, like hell is just a trash compactor or something, while Richter, Tara, and Maria go kick some vampire ass. Except this plan already goes horribly wrong when Maria just wanted to try and make amends with her priest dad, who captures her and follows Erzsébet's threat that he sacrifice Maria so their new world order can begin. Also because Erzsébet's at full power now, so that sucks. Without any other option to save Maria from Erzsébet, Tara sacrifices herself and becomes a vampire in a pretty damn heartbreaking scene, while Maria is knocked unconscious and carried by Richter, who flees with Annette, who couldn't open the portal to hell to yeet the machine into it. They're still attacked by vampires where in the nick of time is the one and only Alucard to save them. My beloved sexy vampire announces himself and hopes he isn't too late to stop Erzsébet, where the season ends for now. Honestly, I really like this season so far. Yes, it goes by pretty fast because it is just 8 episodes, but I really love it, and the themes are pretty interesting too. Throughout the series is the theme of freedom and overcoming trauma, which many complain the theme of overcoming trauma is too stale now because every story now is about that, but I say no, just because trauma is a very common emotion and we live in a world right now where we're all starting to care about our mental health, so it's fine to me. The theme of freedom, though, is super interesting and really puts into perspective the constant rebellion that was going on around the late 1700s. Castlevania's first series focused a lot on how religion dictated the 1400s, while rebelling from a bunch of super rich people was basically the theme of this era. Some complained the slavery theme was just a bit too much, but considering freedom and fighting for freedom is a big theme here, as well as being historically involved, I don't think it's a big deal. That, and it added some really cool mythological lore to the series, since it looks like I've got to look up African mythology to better understand Lynette, which is cool. I'm a nerd for this stuff. Overall, the story is short but very good, fast-paced but very good, and I love seeing a lot of personally very stale characters from the games get some really good character development here. Dear gosh, the animation is fucking brilliant. Now, there was a massive change in art style this time, focusing on more detail in character facial expressions, as well as a really interesting way to draw the eyes. I don't know how to describe it, but the eyes in particular are done in a really soft way, but it can look a little creepy in some areas. Maria looks cute in some shots, but there were one or two shots where the shading of her eyes made her look just a little creepy. But overall, I think the new eye shading does look very good on characters with smaller eye shapes like Richter. Design-wise, you can tell the designers had a lot of fun researching 1700s garments for this season, because the costume design for these characters was on point and frankly gorgeous for a lot of characters. Olrox in particular looked so incredible to me. Talk about a damn glow up from the games, holy shit. Even Ursabet's design was a massive glow up, with her true form resembling that of a lion, which I found really cool, because you don't get to see cool and unique vampire designs like that. I would heavily praise Maria and Richter's outfits as well, but they're a copy and paste from the PSP remake of Rondo of Blood, so I can't really sit here and act like the design team did it or whatever, but they did do a damn good job of making them look good. I like that a lot of the characters are also color-coded too. Color-coding a character was a staple for Castlevania 3 to tell who you were playing, and it did carry over a little in some of the 2D games, but it's cool to see that stay. As an example, Richter is associated with blue, Maria is pink, Annette with yellow, and Drolta with fuchsia. Which, by the way, Drolta was a gorgeous original character. Every outfit of hers is a damn slay, and you guys already know she's wearing my favorite shades of pink, as well as being a badass character. So back to the animation. The fight scenes in particular were extremely dynamic and well crafted, though there were one or two scenes where it was kind of hard to tell or focus on where something was, specifically with Richter and the whip, just because it's always kind of hard to follow where the hell that whip is going, but that's fine. Another thing I noticed was using 3D models to animate certain scenes. The character wasn't a 3D model, but you could tell they rotoscoped over a 3D model, if that makes sense. At least I'm pretty sure by the way you could tell a character was moving, like it was referencing something artificial rather than real life footage. There was also some really awesome creative choices, like certain big character moments, like changing to a really pretty blurry watercolor style. I really liked it. Overall, the animation was extremely fluid, gorgeous to look at, and easily one of the best things to look at this entire series. If you don't like the story, at least watch it for the animation because it's breathtaking. Not gonna go over every character just because there's a lot and I just kind of end up repeating myself, so I'm gonna describe it like this. Take a character from the game who only had one trait and give them a lot more depth and personality to them besides that single trait. Take Terra, a character from the game who simply prays for help, thanks you for saving her, and then leaves an item for Richter or Maria to use in the gameplay. In Nocturne, she's another descendant of Trevor and Sypha who is a mother figure to Richter. However, she lost her sister to Ursabet when she raided their village in Russia many years ago, so was left with no other choice but to kill her sister and run for her life to France, where she had an affair with the village priest and later had Maria, who she raised to be a boss-ass bitch. Although she would, in the end, sacrifice herself to protect her daughter by turning herself into a vampire. That to me makes Terra a much more fascinating character and a lot more heartfelt. Fuck the speaker magic. The love she has in her daughter alone is what makes her badass, but also makes it more gut-punching that she lost all that just to protect her daughter and adopted son. That's what I mean, and for that alone it makes characters I originally didn't care for besides Maria and Richter all the more interesting to me. Olrox in general also becomes a really awesome character to me because I like that he seems like a plain villain at first, but then we see he's a really complicated guy. We find out that he killed Richter's mom because she kills his boyfriend, and we later see him fall in love with the guy in the church whose name I still can't remember, where he goes against Ursabat just to protect him, which I thought was really sweet. Overall, characters from the game were adapted to be far more emotionally impactful, rather than NPCs you had to save or fight to get certain endings like in the original, and for that, I really appreciate it. I had high expectations going in when Nocturne was announced, since an adaptation of Rondo of Blood has been highly requested by fans for ages, and I feel like my expectations were finally met with this season, to a point where I am hyped as hell for Season 2. From its gorgeous animation, great updates for old characters, really good story, and more, I really can't recommend this enough to anyone who liked the original series and want to see more adventures of the descendants of the Belmont named to them. Obviously, you can only watch this on Netflix if you want to support the series, since Netflix loves canceling things if they don't do Stranger Things well, but if you want, you can always wink wink nudge nudge watch it, which is pretty easily available on those sites as well. That'll be it for this video though. What did you guys think of Castlevania Nocturne? Did you love it? Did you hate it? As always, let me know down below.
Hey guys, thanks for watching! If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new. If any of you would like to help support my channel in any possible way, my Ko-fi page is down below in the description, along with all of my social media. For any subscribers, new or old, who'd like to help with video ideas, or maybe just want to talk about anime or something, I have a fan server linked down below. See you next time!